The second day on the job, we were having lunch together and said, hey, why don't we just work together? Clearly, those other guys aren't going to be spending a lot of time with us. Interestingly, for the first 4 years at CB, we operated just on a handshake. We started at the end of '88. Things were still pretty good. Even 1989 was a good year, but things kind of changed in 1990.
Welcome to the Knakal News Network. The Knakal News Network is brought to you by the Knakal Group, Cushman & Wakefield's #1 investment sales team.
You mentioned 1990. Clearly, you're talking about the S&L crisis. Tell us what the market was like then in the business.
No, the market was horrible in the early 90s. I think much worse than this past recession that we went through. Values in some asset classes were down by as much as 68%. And I think in 1990, we only sold 2 buildings the whole year. We were fortunate in that we were still a small enough firm that our overhead was only about $15,000 a month back then. There was a point in time in which we only had $15,000 left in the bank. We had no deals under contract, so we were trying to figure out what to do. Do we pay $5,000 of our most important bills for 3 months? Do we pay everything for 1 month and see what happens? I think we even contemplated going to Atlantic City, putting it all on black. And what we ended up doing is we realized that we had very good credit. So we went around to every bank in town getting credit card applications. And we got 2,000 from this bank, 4,000 from that bank. And we aggregated about $60,000 worth of credit card lines and ran the business off those lines to help us get through 1990, which was a very tough year.
Did things shortly get better after that?
Well, not really. In 1991, we also, the market hadn't really picked up much traction. It was still very challenging. So we were at a point in time in 91 where we had the $60,000 in credit card lines maxed out and had no money. So we had a very, very wealthy client who we went to and asked for a $75,000 loan. And he said he'd be happy to give us the loan, but he wanted 50% of the stock in the business. So of course we left his office thanking him for the offer, but we were dejected, hanging our heads. And Paul's new stepfather-in-law at the time was a guy named Jack Holler, who was a successful mortgage broker out in New Jersey. Went to Jack and said that we needed a $75,000 loan and we'd be willing to give him 25% of the stock in the business. And Jack was kind enough and nice enough to say, guys, look, I'll give you the $75,000. I don't want the equity in your business because someday you'll be successful and you'll feel bad you gave me the equity. And I really believe that Jack did us that significant act of kindness because he saw the goodness in Paul and said, hey, I'm going to help one of the good guys. And so I think that we probably wouldn't have been able to get that arrangement with Jack if it wasn't for Paul being who he is.
So clearly those must have been some pretty difficult times for the both of you.
I've seen Paul in good times and bad, the happiest times in our lives we've shared together, some very sorrowful times. But I think that, it's said that you see somebody's true character when their back is to the wall. And he and I have had our backs to the wall. I've seen him with his back to the wall. And the thing that always impressed me is he was never somebody who would take shortcuts. He never tried to take the easy way out. He always stuck to his principles and his guns. And so I think in looking at him being in a position of running a municipality, running a city, there are several tough decisions. There are several things that are not going to be so easy, and you have to be able to make it through those tough times. And he's shown that he will stay true to himself, his beliefs, his values, during those tough times. And so that's a characteristic that I think will serve him very well if he were to become the mayor.
Give us another characteristic of Paul that you think would make him a great candidate for the job.
His ability to be a consensus builder is tremendous. At the peak at Massey Knakal, we had 250 employees. And sometimes instilling discipline into a bunch of real estate people is like herding cats. It's very difficult, but Paul was always up for the challenge. He always built a consensus.
Clearly over the years it sounds like you were able to overcome a lot of challenges. In each one of those cases, Paul seemed to step up to the plate.
Well, absolutely. I mean, Paul's somebody who always is interested in self-improvement. He's always constantly reading books to become more educated about a certain topic or to understand people better. And he's always motivated to make himself better and motivated to help the people around him get better. And I think that that's something that will serve him very well if he were to be the mayor.